So you will, nearly all of you heard me talk about this damn gym ball theory, and basically it's an easy visual for you to work out where your seat bones are. So far right hand picture, as best as I can do, my best socks in the garden, is mostly aligned. So your gym ball would be underneath you. Shoulder hip heel lines there, seat bones would be pointing down at this point, gym ball's underneath me. This is what happens potentially on Dotty, is that I end up sitting a little bit behind, tucking my bum in too much and bringing my upper body behind the shoulder hip heel line. As you can see, if we draw it straight down from the shoulder, it doesn't actually make it to the heel. So the gym ball's in too much in front of me. Here you can see, this is what Boris does to me, shoulder hip heel line, the heel is actually a little bit behind, the gym ball is definitely behind. And if you look where the weight is probably going to come, it's going to become a pivot point on my knee. And that's a really common thing. I see that quite a lot. And actually the biggest thing that gives that away is actually the when you see the knee becomes a pivot point, people grip through the knee, the lower leg can swing back as well. And I think I've got a picture of me doing that on Boris later on. But just having that, just that awareness of, if I was sat on a gym ball right now, where would it be? Would it be underneath me? Would it be in front of me? Or would it be behind me? And you'll notice, just have that little thing, notice it when you're working the horses, particularly in canter and walk is the easiest one to think about. If you're doing rising trot, be thinking that each time you sit, you are landing on the ball in the same place. So it can also be used in many different areas, and this is just a few little examples of me riding where the gym ball is a bit wayward. So the yellow lines represent perhaps where my seat bones might be at that point in time. So you can see the gym ball here is well off to the outside. I've got way too much inside bend. He's falling through the outside shoulder. My weight is going to the outside. So my weight probably is more on my inside seat bone at that point, but I'm actually, everything's slipping to the outside. So my inside seat bone might be, the weight might be more on it, but it's probably more towards the middle of the saddle. And the outside seat bone is probably not on the saddle at that point. This one in the middle is, you might find, so I'm actually leg yielding in this photo, and you might find that my seat bones, although I might have equal pressure, they may not be actually on the saddle. So if you look where the top of his tail is, the actual right seat bone is probably more towards the middle of the saddle, and the left one again off. Unfortunately, those two in the same direction. Highlights my dippy right side, which happens quite a lot. Here you might find, so I'm just slightly perched forward, so the angle of my seat bones will be pointing out backwards. That can really influence how much you can get them to stay in the box when we talked about box theory and on their hind legs. And this here is a photo example where the gym ball actually is underneath me, although I'm not looking ahead. You can see here that it would be underneath me, and that my seat bones would be facing directly down.